Building Triforce and Black Cleaver together, sounds like a strange and unhealthy pair. Reminds me of my mom and dad. Anyway, guys, welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Christoph, and in this one, we're going to be covering a ton of new Korean solo queue builds that have surfaced in patch 10.5. They're brand new, so make sure to abuse them before they get too popular. And also, some of them are sleeper OP too, so I heavily suggest staying to the end and taking a look at all of them. Also, for our question of the day, what's been your favorite change this patch? Personally, I really like the buffs they gave to Blade of the Ruined King. I think that it wasn't built on most melee champions, and now that tanks are really powerful, bruisers are really powerful, it's important that that item gets a little bit beefier. And as always, if you guys want to get better at League, you guys know where to go. Go to ProGuides.com, go find your challenger coach right now. They'll help you start climbing immediately. All right, let's get into the video. Let's start with the top lane first. Remember that Trinity Force Black Cleaver trend that's been rising? Well, apparently Garen is joining in right now as well. Both Trinity Force and Black Cleaver are solid purchases for Garen, so honestly, why not just build both? The armor shred from Black Cleaver combined with the insane damage boost from Trinity Force turn Garen into a killing machine. For the build, it's pretty similar to a typical Garen build. You'll buy Trinity Force, Black Cleaver, Berserker's Greaves, Deadman's Plate, Steric's Gauge, and a Spirit Visage, or Visage, however you want to pronounce it. Let's talk about the runes a little bit though. You're going to be taking Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Second Wind, and Unflinching. It might seem odd that you want to run Legend Alacrity on Garen, but the extra attack speed will increase his damage in the long run. This build is focused purely on dealing damage as you're already doubling up on Black Cleaver and Trinity Force. To compensate for the lack of crowd control reduction, you'll want to take Unflinching. Since Unflinching provides you some bonus tenacity when you have a summoner spell on cooldown, it also makes a lot of sense to run Ignite in place of Teleport when using this build. Teleport is a summoner spell that needs to be held, waiting for the best opportunity to use it. However, Ignite is a spell you can use anytime you think you can find a kill or when you're trying to trade for your opponent's flash. Accordingly, it'll be on cooldown more often. Next up is going to be Aatrox with a little more damage than normal. Ooh, that sounds fun. Some players, including Someday and Impact, have been experimenting with a more aggressive build on Aatrox, building Ghostblade for some lethality on him. For items, you're going to want to build Black Cleaver, Youmuu's Ghostblade, Ninja Tabby, Death's Dance, Guardian Angel, and Edge of Night. The extra lethality this build provides should allow Aatrox to have much more kill pressure against squishy targets. Also, you're not building a Spirit Visage with this build, so your overall damage output is going to be much higher than if you were to build one. Of course, you are squishier as a trade-off. For runes, take Bone Plating alongside Revitalize, as you're going to be a little bit squishier than normal. In easier matchups, you can instead opt for Ravenous Hunter and Taste of Blood. Okay guys, here's a quick recap of those top lane builds for you. Alright, now let's hop into the jungle. First up in the jungle is going to be Karthus. Some players have been experimenting with Hextech GLP on him. This item provides a multitude of extra options for Karthus on top of making him a little bit tankier. With it, Karthus can start fights off with its slow and hold his wall for his passive after he dies. He'll have more slows to work with, so he can more reliably land his follow-up Qs. Otherwise, Karthus gains an extra slow to stick onto his targets even longer. Technically, you could even say that Hextech GLP's slow makes it easier for Karthus to land his W, guaranteeing even more crowd control. For runes, you're going to want to take Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Magical Footwear, and Cosmic Insight. The items are similar to a normal build by a Runic Echoes, Sorcerer's Shoes, Hextech GLP, Rabadon's Death Cap, Void Staff, and a Zanya's Hourglass. Next up is Conqueror Zed. That's right, even though Zed has held an abysmal win rate in the jungle for the past couple of patches, some players are finding a ton of success with this specific Zed build. I think the math does check out though. Zed has some incredible attack damage ratios and an E that he can spam rapidly. Taking Conqueror on Zed gives him more dueling potential so that he can put up a fight against other junglers. Zed's Q has a 100% AD ratio, while his E has an 80% one. Especially around the mid-game, Zed can abuse the bonus damage from Conqueror to defeat his opponents in a battle. The runes are going to be Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Sudden Impact, and Ravenous Hunter. Items are quite typical. Build a Warrior, Edge of Night, Yomu's Ghostblade, Duskblade of Drakthar, Mercury Treads, and Umbral Glaive. Okay, now let's talk about another interesting pick, none other than Dark Harvest Gragas. In place of Predator, some players are now taking Dark Harvest in its place. It's a much more snowball-oriented rune choice and can definitely deal more damage in the later parts of the game. Although you sacrifice the rushdown active Predator provides, you can take Relentless Hunter in place of Ingenious Hunter. As a result, you're going to passively move a little bit faster when you're not in combat. With Predator, you need to equip Ingenious Hunter so you'll only have bonus movement speed when you activate it. It's a trade-off ultimately. You can invest heavily into specific ganks or have more general mobility. Although Cinderhulk was buffed, Gragas players are still opting into these more aggressive keystones, so I'd suggest giving this one a try as well. For runes, you're going to be taking Dark Harvest, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Perfect Timing, and Cosmic Insight. For items, you're going to be buying a Runic Echoes, Sorcerer's Shoes, Zanya's Hourglass, Morellonomicon, Rabadon's Deathcap, and a Void Staff. Okay guys, so here are all the jungle builds one last time as we go and run it down mid. Also guys, before we get into the mid lane section, we mentioned a Silas build in our previous video from this series, which consisted of Conqueror, Triumph Tenacity, Last Stand, Ravenous Hunter, and Eyeball Collection. We wanted to bring this build up one more time in this video because it actually was created by a challenger jungler named Nidhogg. He was the first one to come up with this iteration, and we highly recommend you check out his Twitch stream, which will be linked in the description below. He's also got insane mechanics and a ton of game knowledge, so we'll be collaborating with him for some future videos for you guys as well, so stay tuned for that. Alright, he's finally back. Players are playing Galio mid once again with Electrocute. This makes a lot of sense since Aftershock received some hard nerfs at the beginning of the season. Without other tank items, it's not a powerful keystone to run, and players are opting for those one-shot builds once again. Back in patch 10.3, Galio received some buffs to his Q, but they weren't really enough to change anything about him. Or so we thought. The amount of damage Galio puts out with Electrocute is honestly disgusting. He literally one-shots anyone caught in his taunt. For runes, you're going to be taking Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Transcendence, and Nimbus Cloak. A lot of you guys might not think that there's much of a difference from the previous iterations of full AP Galio, but back then you could flash while charging taunt. Since you can't anymore, you need to take Nimbus Cloak. You'll gain some bonus movement speed after casting a summoner spell, so flashing then taunting will be a more viable option because of this rune. For his items, build a Protobelt, Luden's Echo, Mercury Treads, Rabadon's Deathcap, Void Staff, and a Zanya's Hourglass. If you're absolutely hard stomping, feel free to trade the boots out for Sorcerer's Shoes instead. Okay, this one is quite the oddity, but Conqueror Anivia is our next mid lane pick. Anivia is surprisingly one of the tankier mages in the mid lane because she builds Rod of Ages and Seraph's Embrace. She's also a champion that excels at longer, drawn-out team fights. Conqueror is easily the strongest rune for longer team fights because it doesn't have a cooldown like basically every other keystone. As long as you don't die an unfortunate death, you'll be able to really milk this rune to your last breath in basically any teamfight or skirmish that breaks out. For her runes, take Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter. The combinations of Conqueror, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter make Anivia even harder to kill because of her incredible sustain. These runes also allow Anivia to stay in the lane longer, especially after she finishes a Catalyst. She gains more health to work with, meaning she also gains some more mana to burn through. For items, build a Rod of Ages, Seraph's Embrace, Mercury Treads, Zanya's Hourglass, Rabadon's Deathcap, and a Void Staff. We're throwing those mid lane builds one more time on the screen as we head down to the bot lane. Okay, so this is one of the times I should have been able to come up with this one myself. The next one is going to be Conqueror Jinx, and it really does make a lot of sense, and it's starting to gain a lot of popularity. Jinx auto-attacks extremely quickly and has many reasons to use her abilities during team fights. Stacking it up is basically no issue for her, and honestly, what marksman doesn't want some extra attack damage? When Jinx finds a takedown to activate her passive, she gains movement speed and attack speed. Especially while excited off of these resets, the only thing Jinx could ask for is more damage, and that's what Conqueror is there for. For her runes, you're going to be taking Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Bloodline, Coup de Grace, Nimbus Cloak, and Gathering Storm. The Nimbus Cloak Gathering Storm combination is starting to replace magical footwear and biscuit delivery, but for this build specifically, it's a must. You're trying to maximize the amount of AD you can gain, so you need Gathering Storm in your loadout. For items, build Berserker's Greaves, Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, Storm Razor, Mauve Malmortius, and Mortal Reminder. Of course, if there aren't any magic damage threats on the enemy team, replace it with a Bloodthirster or any other item of your choosing. Oy, this one is just, I don't even know what to say about this, but this has been happening. Please let me know what you think of this down below. Players have started playing Azir bottom as of late. What's really weird about this is that he's not really out of place in the bot lane. It's pretty typical to throw a ranged late game damage threat down there, especially if your team needs some magic damage or if you're against opponents who want to power farm. And Azir is actually quite a solid pick for this. Since he's ranged, he should be able to farm relatively easily, or at worst, have to use his spells to farm from a safer distance. For runes, you're going to be taking Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Alacrity, Last Stand, Biscuit Delivery, and Time Warp Tonic. The reason you want Time Warp Tonic is because you're usually starting with a Corrupting Potion. It'll provide some extra sustain, and the movement speed you get from Time Warp Tonic should help you get out of some sticky situations. Basically, no bot laner will run Time Warp Tonic, as they're going to want free boots and biscuits or Gathering Storm, so this will be your saving grace in many situations. Items are normal Azir items by a Nashor's Tooth, Sorcerer's Shoes, Rabadon's Death Cap, Void Staff, Liandry's Torment, and Zhonya's Hourglass. Okay guys, here are the bot lane builds one last time as we head into support. We already hated him enough in the bot lane, but what if I told you that Heimerdinger is also played as a support now? Imagine taking something terrible and making it worse. When I say terrible, I don't mean in terms of win rate, by the way. He is a powerful pick and you're making a good move by picking him. But if you play him, you're a terrible person, just know that. Anyway, Heimerdinger support still exerts a ton of pressure during the laning phase. In case you're wondering, you still max W on support Heimerdinger. Your goal is to poke your opponents down, and the best part is that you don't have to focus spending mana on pushing the wave. That's up to your lane partner. For his runes, you're going to be taking Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Scorch, Presence of Mind, and Cut Down. You're playing support after all, so you absolutely don't need to run Gathering Storm. Take Scorch and make your lane opponents miserable. Heimerdinger is a squishy champion, so running Cut Down on him will also provide an incredible amount of value. For items, you're going to be buying Shard of True Ice, Sorcerer's Shoes, Hextech GLP, Liandry's Torment, Zhonya's Hourglass, and a Void Staff. Okay, next up is going to be Sylas support. However, he's also seeing play as an oddball bot laner as well. The builds are quite similar for both, so we're just going to lump them together. As a support, you're going to be taking Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Nimbus Cloak, and Transcendence. For items, you're going to be building a Bulwark of the Mountain, Sorcerer's Shoes, Proto Belt, Zhonya's Hourglass, Rabadon's Death Cap, and a Void Staff. Sylas support plays as a typical non-traditional support. He's very aggressive and plays for kills. When he's played as bottom, he's often played with an extremely aggressive support to back him up. You're playing a kill lane. Essentially, you can always farm with Q if necessary. For his runes as a bot laner, take Conqueror, Triumph, Tenacity, Last Stand, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. For his items, they're the usual: build a Protobelt, Luden's Echo, Sorcerer's Shoes, Zhonya's Hourglass, Rabadon's Death Cap, and a Void Staff. Okay, so the final build that we have for you guys is going to be a fun one. Sometimes one solution to overcome your weakness is to get really, really good at what your strengths are. The next build, Predator Blitzcrank, does just that. By taking Predator and opting solely into movement speed, you make the most out of Blitzcrank's biggest strength, which is his Q. You're basically all or nothing with this build, so I hope you're good at landing those hooks. Lord knows that I'm not. During the early to mid game, however, Predator can instead act to help you get in E range of enemies who are out of position. You won't be able to run into 5 people, punch someone, and expect to escape alive though. For runes, you're going to be taking Predator, Taste of Blood, Ghost Ward, Ingenious Hunter, Hextech Flash Traption, and Cosmic Insight. For items, you're going to be building a White Rock, Boots of Mobility, Dead Man's Plate, Righteous Glory, Gargoyle Stone Plate, and Knight's Vow. The combination of Predator, Boots of Mobility, Dead Man's Plate, and Righteous Glory make it so that you're going to be really, really fast. You do give up a little bit of power in lane though, so make sure you're extra careful when you're playing against tankier supports who like to get in there. You're giving up Aftershock for this rune, so you're losing all ins. However, in return, you have a lot more lane pressure against squishier champions, you have a ton more pressure with stronger roams, and you're just a pick-making machine. Alright guys, we're going to show you these builds one more time as we conclude the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's going to conclude this video. Make sure to check out ProGuides.com as well as our YouTube channel for even more informational content like this. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and like the video so you can stay updated with all the new content we release. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck in your next few games, and I'll see you on the Rift.